constitutional questions. The High Court had, on 2 separate occasions, found sufficient basis to issue conservatory orders stopping the sale until the constitutional petition was heard and determined. That petition has already been heard, and the High Court is expected to pronounce itself within the next 2 weeks. So one would wonder why rush the conclusion of the sale when in 2 weeks the High Court will be issuing their ruling. It is therefore deeply troubling that almost immediately after the Court of Appeal lifted the conservatory orders on 26 June 2026, the government moved with such speed to dispose of the very asset that is the subject of the pending constitutional proceedings. And I need to note here that that matter of lifting the orders was initially set for the 29th, but the Registrar of the Court of Appeal, of course in collusion with others, decided to bring it to the 18th of June. We respect the courts, of course, some of us are officers of the courts, but Kenyans are entitled to ask, if a matter is still pending before the High Court, and if the asset in dispute can be transferred before the hearing, what protection does constitutional litigation truly offer the ordinary citizen? Let us be clear, the Court of Appeal did not declare this transaction lawful. It did not determine whether Kenyans were properly consulted. It did not determine whether Safaricom was fairly valued. It did not determine whether the government can lawfully sell a strategic national asset merely to raise short-term revenue. The Court of Appeal only dealt with the question of conservatory orders. The government has not been allowed to outrun the court process. The due process of the law ought to have been allowed to take into account to take its course to its proper legal conclusion. This is a matter of great public interest because public wealth belongs to the people of Kenya, not to temporary office holders like the Treasury mandarins. And I saw the comments by the Cabinet Secretary for the Treasury before JK Live. It's of a big shame, private interests or indeed foreign corporations. This is not an ordinary sale, share sale. Safaricom is not just another company. It is the backbone of Kenya's digital economy. M-Pesa moves trillions of shillings every year. Safaricom's infrastructure supports payments, communications, businesses, public services, sensitive data, and the daily lives of millions of Kenyans. Kenyans are therefore entitled to ask a simple question. Why was the government in such a hurry to sell a highly profitable and strategic national asset before the High Court could pronounce itself? The government has sold approximately 6 billion shares at the valuation, according to them, of 34 shillings per share, reducing its ownership from 35% to 20% and giving Vodacom effective majority control at about 55%. We maintain that this sale was undervalued, was opaque, was rushed, and constitutionally suspect. Expert evidence placed before the court indicated that the fair value of the shares was at the very least approximately Kenya shillings 57.90 per share, just under 58 shillings. If M-Pesa is properly valued and as a standalone fintech platform, the public value potentially lost runs into hundreds of billions of shillings. That is not a minor pricing dispute. It is a matter of our national wealth, public accountability, and the safeguarding of Kenya's strategic interests. There is also the dividend question. As Safaricom's latest total dividend level of about 1.2 1.20 cents per share, the government's former 35% economic interest represented roughly 16 billion shillings in annual dividend income. With a dividend payout very imminent in just a few days, Kenyans deserve an explanation as to why the government chose to surrender 16 billion shillings so casually. Why not wait a few days for the dividend? Why not wait for the High Court ruling? Why the haste? Why give up billions in future annual public income year after year for a one-off upfront payment for dividends equivalent to only about 2 years of annual dividends? Why rush to give up a strong long-term income stream for a short-term cash receipt? This transaction raises grave questions of transparency, of accountability, of valuation, sovereignty, and respect for the rule of law. It is clear that there is more to this matter than meets the eye. For that reason, we issue a clear caveat emptor. Buyer, beware. This matter is not closed simply because the transaction has been rushed through. The constitutional questions remain alive. The public interest questions remain alive. The valuation questions remain alive. The accountability questions remain alive. Again, we say we respect the courts and we will await the High Court's determination of the matter. And we also reserve every legal, constitutional, and public interest avenue available to challenge this transaction and to protect the wealth of the Kenyan people. Safaricom was built by Kenyans. It grew from the trust, the loyalty, and daily economic activity of Kenyans, and its value must not be traded away in haste, behind closed doors, and without full accountability to the public. Indeed, Kenyans have distinguished themselves internationally as the innovators of the famous M-Pesa platform. Aside from this Safaricom issue, which amounts to economic abduction, it must now be very clear in the minds of all Kenyans who love this nation that there are many things being done by this government that are against the interests of the Kenyan people. The levels of impunity, conflict of interest, and outright theft in this government have reached an acceptable level, and it is simply abhorrent. I'm calling on all Kenyans who love this country to unite. Continue to register as voters if you are not already done so, and ensure that in August next year, precisely on the 10th, because this date is written in our Constitution, we send a very clear message to economic abductor number 1 and chief, William Ruto, that a government lacking in accountability and focused on theft, corruption, and conflict of interest cannot be tolerated by the people of Kenya. God bless Kenya. Zote tukomboe Kenya. If there's any question, I think I can quickly take it. Yeah, I think that the petitioner here, Bwana Tony Gachoka, by the way, he's not the only one. There was 2 other petitioners who were so roughed up by by the appeal court judges that I think they have taken a different approach to it. Please.
Yes. I'll be very, very brief. Our message to President William Ruto, he knows this team of Kalonzo Musyoka and Tony Gachoka very well, because we met for battle at the High Court before on Jomo Kenyatta International Airport over Andani. and we obtained mandatory conservative orders that stopped the sale of Jomo Kenyatta to Andani. Now the government is redrawing or re-strategizing how to deal with JKIA because we took them to court and we did not let it go until William Ruto had to issue a statement denouncing Andani and getting Andani out of Kenya. So we are telling William Ruto today on the Safaricom matter, we await the ruling of the court, High Court, which will be delivered on 17th of August, 2026. And after that ruling is given, we are going to take that matter all the way up to the Supreme Court and to the general election of 2027, where whatever happens in that general election, any